I also have to wait a minute for just to make sure it's not encoding. La 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 la. La 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 la. Hey there, this is another behind-the-scenes videos for the Anachroschism. What's one of those things where we talk to the players, see what was going on with their characters and some of the pivotal moments of the last few sessions, see maybe if there were things that were on their mind they didn't get a chance to say, or just their impressions of how things went as a whole. We're covering a decent amount of ground with this one. This goes all the way back to the Shrine of Zenithra episodes as they encounter the first part of the Conatus, and then to the ranch where Grail's parents live, and everything that happened there, and then some of the events that just happened after that, culminating in a tug-of-war tournament in the city of Willowdale. So I guess let's talk about the Conatus first. What was your guys' impressions? How did you think it was going to go, as opposed to like what your expectations were? All that jazz.
I liked that there was kind of an elemental theme that persisted throughout it, and I also appreciated that. I think I was expecting a lot of really combat-heavy stuff with the Conatus, just because other previous candidates have died, so I was expecting like, oh, it's gonna be fighting nonstop. Whereas this, there was a riddle, and there was going through the well and swimming and kind of like using all of our skills, and it was really cool to like kind of blend everything all in.
The riddle was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Even though we struggled with it for a bit.
The
answer is there's no answer. It's like, no, there is actually.
Yeah, we'll just start trying doors, and I think you could probably see, at least in just little blips, a moment of me going, I better give him a little bit more of a nudge. Maybe it was too much of one. I'm sure folks can argue about that, but I think it was reasonable.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I mean, I don't want to fight fade spiders, so anything to avoid that sounds good.
We'll tell the viewers what I told you guys. There were blink spiders behind some of those
Blink
wrong doors.
spiders,
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Not great.
Terrible.
Nah.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, they could basically just be like, I'm on another plane now. Oh, I'm back eating your face. So.
I mean, I like the dragon fight just because it's Dungeons and Dragons, and we finally had a dungeon and a dragon. So
Hey!
That's you're dragonborn. It doesn't count.
Yeah, you can fight Karash anytime you want.
But I actually really like the watery thing. Even though we didn't do it right, I like that. Like, it was like a legit puzzle. Like, we didn't just have to find anything. We just legitimately had an environmental hazard we had to find our way around. Then, like, we could have just swam all the way through. We got inventive with my cantrip, but if people had taken different spells, that could have been an option. I thought it was cool. It made it feel like a dungeon. Like, hey, this is just a puzzle. Figure it out your own way. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. I liked that there was enough of a learning curve to it that now the next time we're in some place, it's like, okay, Lena, you can get up there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's a good chance this will be easier if I go first, so I'm absolutely gonna.
And that's how Lena dies.
Yeah, exactly.
One of these times there's going to be like a spike that goes through the wall and just kills me. But yeah.
Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Tomb Raidered.
God.
And you got a new form.
I did. After the fight with Aurelia, I was granted a silver wormling form. Smaller than hers. Hers was huge. I'm like medium-sized, but then that was cool. Lena was very excited, a little too excited, given the circumstances, because the battle was really tough, and we almost lost a person in Grail. It was an intense fight, but it was good. And I don't like that Grail almost died. That's just inconsiderate. But I like that there was the threat of like, as the leader, you gotta watch for your team and recognize that this isn't gonna hurt like just you. This can hurt everyone, kind of. I don't know if that makes sense.
We're talking about Grail dying, Grail. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, sorry. My cat was being a total asshole and was clawing something upstairs, so I had to yell at her.
Whoa. Your cat was being an asshole? That doesn't seem likely.
More than her usual asshole self. But yeah, I guess this kind of informs my character in like kind of like a meta way, but like I wasn't anticipating it to be as like potentially like devastating. Like we got hit like once and I was like down. And Grail's kind of that way too. She's very brave and just kind of foolhardy in a lot of ways. Like she doesn't really understand like the gravity of or the dangers that are out there. And so that was a good lesson for her. But I know like Isaac was like not impressed with it being a lesson. And so I kind of like that too, because it, like, I think for some of the members of the group, it was beneficial. But Isaac has this background where that it has not been beneficial. It's been like abusive. And I kind of liked that differentiation between characters. I thought that was actually, I wasn't expecting that. And I'm kind of glad that that came out of Grail's like near-death experience. It was really cool.
We've had 2 of those now.
Yeah.
Tessian and Grail.
Well, what I liked about this one compared to Tessian's is that this was not like, it wasn't friendly fire. And so this really showed like the dangers out there, something from an outside source. And also with Tessian's, it showed how powerful we are, but then it's kind of nice to be, have a reality check being like, there are things way stronger than us. And it was just like narratively kind of satisfying. I'm glad that it was like, this is not going to be a cakewalk. Like the Canadus is a serious deal. Because yeah, we had like the puzzles, and I really liked the puzzles, but it was like, oh, this is going to be fine. And then we just get like smacked with Aurelia's like really, and she was holding back on top of that. Like we could tell like that wasn't even her full power. So like, it was a good way to introduce the Canadus, I think, as this, like, it's going to be intense. This is not going to be easy for us. And so I'm glad that a character in the group experienced a near-death experience. And I'm glad it was Grail.
And we got cool stuff. So what I liked was with the transformation, the additional
Oh,
information.
I'm sorry. Did we get cool stuff, Isaac?
We got...
Did all of us get cool
Weird.
stuff?
We got information. We got a new transformation, and then we got some cool gifts. And I think that's a cool sense of progression that you get. We did something noteworthy, and we were kind of like rewarded. And it felt like a real sense of accomplishment on a few different levels.
But not for Isaac, though, because he refused his gift.
That's true.
I still have it, though. It's in the bag of holding, so if he ever changes his mind or if someone else wants to swap, we can. It's not like,
Someone
you're
else
stuck
should
with your
just
gift
take it.
forever, but,
Yeah.
I'll give you a spoiler if he's going to change his mind about the gift.
I
I'm
also was
just saying,
telling...
Lena has not given up hope on you, so.
I told 1 or 2 of you this off camera, too, but it's a good thing Aurelia wasn't there to see that.
Oh, I'm
What is she
sure.
going to do? Kill me for
Probably.
refusing her gift?
No, it would have been something different than that.
A curse?
Cursed into a frog?
I mean, what are the full powers of someone who's completed a Conatus? I guess we'll find out in time if Lena can, right?
What are the
Yeah,
full
that's the
powers?
hope.
What are the extents of their pettiness?
Right.
I say as a
I was
petty
gonna
person,
say,
but still.
Well, speaking of the fight too, I mean, it was a little I don't know about confusing, but like I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but like I was giving Tessian disadvantage on things, and like that's a part of his background, specifically with dragons, and like it was nice to be able to finally see that kind of come in, because I'd kind of wrote that in there, and we just never saw any dragons, and so having one finally show up was a nice. Again, actual dragons.
No, that's
Not
fine.
pretend people dragons.
Worthwhile dragons, not dragonborn.
It was. It was nice because like I got to roleplay that for my own sake. Because like the frightful presence thing kicks in for everybody, but like it was specifically a thing like that I had for Tessian, and it was nice to be able to do that on my end, and be almost worthless the whole fight. Which I mean, not good for you guys, but it was something I wanted to do at some point, so it was fun to do that.
And the attack that was not meant to be used.
Yeah, Thea brought that up, and I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Pick up on that.
That's a whole other thing. Kind of like, just behind the scenes. I've been dealing with like a lot of spells and thematic things for Tessie, and I want to get some stuff aligned and tell some stories with that. And every time we get into combat, I either get like down by a crit, or we never really have a combat because we never do combat. So having something with enough HP to have multiple rounds was finally nice. It was almost, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to land with it, to like hit with it and really use it, because I would be frightful presence the whole time, because that was another part of this background.
Right.
It was almost this perfect storm of none of this is going to work. But then the dragon moved closer, and then I landed a hit finally, so it all kind of worked out. So it was good.
It's okay. Your showing was still infinitely better than Isaac's inability to shoot straight later on. So.
Excuse me. Let us not overlook. I lit that dragon up while everybody else so if you guys want to join me, anytime.
What?
But yes.
I was handling myself quite well with the
say.
bow.
Yeah,
Thank
you did
very
especially well when you were face down in the dirt.
I'm sorry, I can't hear it over the sound of me stabbing it through the head to end the battle.
Yeah, but your point is well taken later on. I was very excited about this Gorgon for many reasons, one of which is he was in danger. I didn't want him to be in danger, really, but there was a part of me that did, so that we were validated. And
that's my dad, okay?
Yeah.
I wanted her dad to be in danger, but I'm also maybe he could just be on the porch swing at home.
Yeah. I mean, so I was glad. I wish I could have helped more, but it was very cool to have Karash and Lena team up and basically take it down by themselves. That was pretty awesome.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun seeing Grail back with her home though, or her family.
Yeah, I thought all those scenes were great. All the nice talks and catching up and learning. Well, some of us weren't there to learn some of the stuff, but some of the team got to learn some more information about your family and history and the background and the magic in your family, which is super cool too. So
I'm glad that you guys liked that. I wasn't sure if it was boring or I don't know. Sometimes when it becomes the Grail show or the Isaac show, I always get concerned that it's oh no, we're not integrating the other characters, but we're all learning about each other. It's just kind of all unfolding. I feel pretty naturally, so I'm glad that you guys liked that part.
On paper, a farm work would sound really boring for a D&D campaign, but we did a montage and there was flirting.
There was.
There was flirting.
It was fun.
The glisten score.
Oh.
The glisten.
But I mean, even you Grail had her moment, but even before we got to the farm, Tessian had a lot of stuff that he talked about. I think we all had after the Conatus, it did sort of signal we've all sort of gotten some little chances to kind of open up with each other after it, which has been nice. It's been a good change.
Karash had a moment. I will say Karash and Isaac had a wonderful moment where Karash opened up.
And Thea.
And Thea was part of that. I actually like Thea a lot. We're bros
Me
now.
too.
And but it was funny because we have a great moment with Karash where he finally opens up about his brother and what's driving him. And then we meet the brother in a huge twist.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see how that panned out. I actually forgot his name, so when Chris revealed it, I was like, who? But yeah.
You've had the problem too of Crash hasn't talked about any of his background virtually at all. So
well, it's going to come up in a big way here in our next session. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes for Crash. I increasingly love Crash. He's just delightful. He's kind of an oddball. I think he kind of throws a wrench into just what may be considered a pretty typical D&D campaign. Not to say that our characters are typical or that the story's typical, but his character is very atypical, and I like that. It just changes things up in ways that I would never expect.
It's purely me trying my best to pull stuff out of my head as we go, because there's parts of Karash that I definitely have in my head, and there's other parts of them that are well, that wouldn't apply because of this reason, just growing up separate from the rest of the world. But when it does come up, it's like relationship stuff. I'm but he was so young when he this might be a thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think not to toot our own horn too much, but I do feel like we're doing a pretty good job with characterizing who we are, but also role playing. And Tessian was talking about it. There were certain things he did. I know Isaac, as a player, I would love a trinket that helps me, but he's mad and he's gonna do his thing. And Grail has a lot of role. All of us really have moments where we're what would our character do? And I think that that's awesome.
And I gotta say, props to Chris, because an important part of Tessian's role playing was I came up with an entire fiance for him, and then basically I wrote up a decent amount about her. I tried to give him as much as I could and more.
27 pages.
It's a lot.
Though there are some
I had-
pictures as part of that. It's not that bad, but still.
But I have I came up with notes and stuff so that he could try to use it with you guys, and some of them came in and some of them don't, and so it kind of keeps me like on my toes. So so even I, the player that came up with a lot of stuff, aren't really sure. But like, I'm glad to hear that like you guys are getting along well with it, because she needed to be important to Tessian, because she is. But then she sort of needed to be important to the group, or she was just a shitty NPC that's being dragged around because I wrote her into the backstory.
No, I really like her as an NPC. In fact, I like a lot of the NPCs that Chris has created, and then Thea, which with Jason has created, and then kind of handed to Chris to do, what he will based on Jason's descriptions and stuff. I thought a lot of them have been pretty memorable, and I'm excited to have Thea return under different circumstances and for things to have changed, like dynamics to have changed, for, whatever to have changed, and to see like where she fits in again. And I also just like that we kind of had like a gender balance in the group for a little bit, which was really cool as well. But Thea is a very different character from both Grail and Lena, and I just appreciate that. It's just, there's a lot of diversity going on.
She's the only one who doesn't make fun of Isaac's accents, which he is eternally grateful for.
Yeah, she tries her own.
Crash is piled on now.
She's kind of a goofball, but like she's serious when she needs to be, but she plays along. She's just like a very agreeable character, and I'm glad that we have someone like that, because I think we have like Lena's like a people pleaser. Grail's just kind of awkward and like a go-getter, and I think Thea is to an extent too, but she has like this worldly kind of background, and that's really neat. And so I like seeing all the diverse women in this story. It's really cool.
So this is behind the scenes for the players now too, because they don't really know this except maybe Jason, because we've talked about it a bit. But like, the main reason I really wanted to make sure she was fleshed out was so that Jason, who DMs a lot, who ran our campaign in 4th edition when we first started, 8 years ago, wherever the hell, I don't even want to know the number anymore, was so that you had a chance to actually role play. And you're already doing it with the other characters and stuff, but I wanted to make sure that there was a character you were familiar with that you could then entrust to somebody else and be like, this is fine. You guys could have met her sooner. It turns out that when you rolled 3 natural 20s in a row and you went off to Lycidian, she was actually going to be waiting in Harnstead at the time when you guys first got there. But some other things came up and the story took a very different turn, which is fine, and I like that. I like that everything is off the rails a lot of times. But I was kind of thinking, like, maybe she can kind of help bridge the gap, because the team's not really working well together sometimes. Turns out you guys figured it out yourself, and now she's just kind of further pushing it in that direction.
Yeah, I think she kind of came at the right time. I know we've talked about this before, but sometimes like we'll roll really well together collectively, or really poorly collectively, and it really lends itself to the story overall. It's almost like fated. I know it sounds silly, but like it really works to our advantage with both the characters and the story, and I really have appreciated how that's worked out so far. Well,
I have to admit, the very end of the most recent episode, as this airs, is sort of an example of that. With, of course he rolls a natural 20 there, and I'm like, well, then okay. I mean, this was probably going to come up one way or the other afterwards or whatever, but I'm like, I guess this moment's just happening now, because here we are. It's a natural 20. I'm not going to ignore that. Same thing with a natural 1. If Karash had eaten it there, maybe that would have played out in reverse, but differently. I don't know. But like, I think that it's really, like you said, there's been a lot of serendipitous moments with how the roles have gone, and I like to think that that's good, because this is obviously unscripted. More and more I improvise stuff on my side of the table as it is, and as such, it's really cool to see the dice play along when they're supposed to, and sometimes when they're not, it creates even better stories we didn't even know we were going to head to. All right, so I want the last thing that is like one big takeaway. Like, what was your favorite moment, or what are you looking forward to the most? Just something that's like whatever's been happening in the last few weeks that we've been playing, or whatever, or what's coming up. Like, what's on your or your character's like top of mind right now? And you can go in whatever order. If somebody has one, jump in. It's not like let's each say our thing. But I'm vamping
all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. Isaac feels much more bonded to Karash now. So the fact that we found, and I don't know if it's mutual, and really he doesn't care that much. The fact that we found his brother, like, Isaac feels really happy. I mean, he was kind of, maybe Karash would have done it himself, but he really wanted to come here in part in a large part for that reason. So he's really happy. I'm excited to see how that plays out. And then just the fact that we're hitting like 2 cities in 2 days is really fun. And I like seeing like how they're different and the different flavor for each one. So that's what I'm looking forward to as well.
I mean, I have to say goodbye to Thea, so testing will be sad about that. But you know, I think he is in a better place now, and he's glad that he's seen her. And I think he feels like even his kind of thing with Isaac is a little like it's better. They kind of have an understanding with each other at this point. But as a player, I think it's gonna sound stupid, but just the Conatus, like I want to see what the next big step is, because you know, it's kind of like I say, like we did the first part, but again, the first part was like can you do the Conatus, or like are you worthy of it? So like we still haven't done the first part. We did mission 0, like we haven't done mission 1 yet. So you know, just seeing what's the next dungeon, what's the next big dungeon that we have to do.
I still hope they're themed. Like maybe that's the Zelda player in me, but I'm like I think the themes are cool.
I think they will be. I mean, I only know so much about what Chris has behind the scenes, but I know what the original idea behind a lot of us of this was like a Tales of game, and like it just all the dungeons are themed. So I'm hoping for some themed dungeons. I think that's what we're gonna get.
I talked to Jason early on in this process just because I wanted another DM to bounce a couple of ideas off. They were very conceptual, but the Conatus is one of the first things that was developed for this entire thing. This is like 2014 or 2015. So you have at least some idea where that's headed, but not a ton.
Yeah, I know
like very
some
little,
of the basics.
Really. Yeah.
Like I know your general like arc kind of for it, like the idea, like the most broadest terms for where you're going with it. But that's not what intrigues me. Like I'm a sucker for just like throw me in a random dungeon and let's see if we can figure out some traps and stuff. So every time we go to these dungeons, I'm gonna be excited. I think.
Well, I love that and how it's gonna play into like the politics and the main world stuff because like it's gonna tie in together. It's already kind of happening, and so to see how that continues to play out is really cool.
I am selfishly excited to know more about Grail's visions. I really like that we had some time for Grail to talk to her family and get to know them, and props again to Chris for fleshing out her parents. I thought they are like really well fleshed out and really interesting people. And so I'm excited for that. And I am also super stoked about the next step in the Conatus, and also I really like how like Grail and Lena are becoming closer, and I'm excited to see where that goes too.
All right, all eyes are on Michaela now.
Oh God, me too. I'm excited to have more like kind of quiet character moments for Lena. I'm looking forward to kind of putting her in an environment that's a little more relaxing. She doesn't have to think about like leadership. It's kind of like the thing that's been on the top of her mind is being the best leader she can be for everyone. And it'll be nice to kind of just have her in a different context a little bit, but also seeing more of like the journey and having everyone develop and becoming even a tighter knit group. I am excited for that. It's already kind of happening now, but I'm looking forward to more of that too.
This is going to be Lena's beach episode where it's just like
exactly
To the hot springs.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, there are hot springs.
Of course there are.
Oh my God.
Fun.
Excellent.
Spoiler alert. They're also not anywhere near you.
Oh, good.
Just to warn you. All right, well, that's it from us. Thank you again for watching. We don't often have a chance to check in, but we appreciate you checking it out, and hopefully you've been enjoying things so far. We'll keep things going in the future. We have many question marks to resolve going forward, and I'm just as excited to see how they play out as anybody else. So, as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Anachroschism.